Uzbekistan is often seen as one of the cheapest countries in the world. And while there's some truth to that, realistically, I just paid 50,000 som for a coffee and water at the train station. Now, I don't understand if this were Tashkent or, the capital city where people obviously have more discretionary spending power. However, this is Samarkand, and realistically, people don't have this purchasing power. So, if you join me for the rest of this video, I will go over how the Uzbek cities are not the cheapest in the world, but why you may not want that to be the case. Hello, and welcome back to the Traveling Report. Today, I'm in beautiful Samarkand, Uzbekistan, just walking through the streets early morning here. It's about 5 to 6 in the morning. I don't know the exact time, but it's early. Had a train ride here, and I figured I'd check out the city and check out how life is here. And realistically, it's dead right now. There's barely any cars on the street. This is for sure not a 24/7 sort of city, which is to be expected for a second-tier city in the former USSR. Even capitals typically do not have the same amount of workers necessary to run 24/7 operation. Now, of course, here in Uzbekistan, what stands out right away is indeed cost, as many people on YouTube or whatever else for years have been going through the cycle of Uzbekistan is the cheapest country. And I was recently in Islamabad, Pakistan, significantly cheaper than Uzbekistan. That said, this isn't to say that it's necessarily a good thing for a place to be cheap. To be honest, the walkability in Pakistan isn't good, so you have to buy a car. The walkability here, as you can see, is very good, and people generally can get around via walking. Additionally, if you are looking at the totality of costs, you also have to factor in buying or renting. That is something that is inexpensive here in Uzbekistan, as there isn't a huge expat-oriented growth spurt still. Of course, the Russians fled to Tashkent, but the prices are normalizing there as well. And realistically, it wasn't a lot of Russians that went to Tashkent. It was more so Almaty or Yerevan or Tbilisi, which of course I've done videos on Tbilisi. I have to go back to Armenia to do some videos in Yerevan, but it's much more noticeable that there are Russians in Yerevan or even Tbilisi, where of course that shot up prices. So the baseline of prices is lower, let's say, than in some regions of Georgia if you don't know what you're doing. Additionally, it's lower if you don't know what you're doing than Armenia. However, living in Georgia, in my view, is still cheaper. Living in Armenia is about on par in terms of cost, which, as I've moved throughout Uzbekistan, I've realized this. Now, of course, the largest expense, your rent, is only going to be 120 to 180 in a second-tier city for a one-bedroom like Samarkand, which, for a monthly apartment, that's not bad. And it is a beautiful city, absolutely beautiful, very historical. Right now, there's a lot of UNESCO things going on here in Samarkand. They are meeting for UNESCO, and at the convention center they're going to be talking about UNESCO pretty much within the next few hours. Now, I won't be attending, but I figured that's interesting to note. However, when you have a coffee costing 50,000 Uzbek som for just a single coffee and a single water, that's realistically the same cost as it would be in Italy. Now, is this to say that the quality is better? No, it's actually worse than in Italy or in Albania even. But that's ignoring the fact that, of course, yes, there is ways to make life in Uzbekistan cheaper, and while prices are rising, I think that that's not inherently a bad thing. It shows there is interest in Uzbekistan. It shows there is development happening within Uzbekistan. And if you look at the salaries, they're skyrocketing right now. And for a business owner, this is both a benefit and a drawback. Of course, Uzbeks know many languages. I'm headed off to Bukhara to meet with a friend. If you're watching this, hi Bukhara. You'll be on another video. But essentially, in Uzbekistan, you have quite the gap between the local costs and the tourist costs. I am paying about 20 bucks a night, I believe, maybe 14, 15, for a private room. Which, if you're used to the US prices, where, of course, a single room in a hotel is $180 on average, something like this. I'll put it on screen. If you're used to that, yes, Uzbekistan seems cheap. But if you're used to going around and spending time on the grounds, Uzbekistan is not as cheap as people would like to say it is. As I continue on this journey throughout Uzbekistan, I plan to take you along, and I'll be recording a video on the lifestyle. So, that said, if you want to join me on those new videos, feel free to drop down below, click that subscribe button. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to like it. If you really enjoyed it, feel free to share it with your friends. If you are looking for a way to leave your home country and you want my direction, you can fill out the Google Forms link for a one-pager, which is the prerequisite for. With that said, I appreciate your time. This has been the Traveling Report, signing off.